how do we produce this regenerative, restorative coffee? As any change, it first take a diagnostic. So we would come in and look at the entire ecosystem, which means, well, the worst case scenario is you are in a monoculture. From there, it's pretty damn simple. And we will figure out whether or not you have already existing diversity in your system. When we say diversity, which means diversity of plants, bushes, trees that are already growing, accompanying your coffee. The second side of the diagnostic is to execute a soil microbiological diagnostics. And from there, we would look whether or not you have the corresponding microbiology for the actual needs that your plant needs, and here the coffee, in order the plant to express its maximum plantness or coffeeness here in particular. For example, I mean, a tree, a fruit tree, doesn't grow in the spot where you have the conditions for growing a corn at soil ecosystem level. So two diagnostics, the surrounding ecosystems, and then the soil ecosystem with its microbiology. Then once we are here, we also figure out what are the existing skills that the local producers have, and we will make sure that from where they are and their current understanding of the system management, we will adjust and then add up, build capacity, so they would then engage within this new emerging system, a dynamic agroforestry system principles that will then be adapted inside your existing coffee operation. It needs a little bit of adjustment, so we make sure that the people that then will be producing it will also become the experts in managing the system. Because here we remember that we're talking about an agronomical management change. After having trained the local producer, we will co-create and co-design the whole planning to take your productive system from the point A to the point regenerative slash restorative. It takes organizing a nursery, figuring out whether or not we have the seeds for the plants that would like to plant. It takes listing all the existing varieties that are around this special watershed that grow in your context. So we make sure we have all those potential plants, bushes, trees that we would be able to include in your existing system. Now we are talking about varieties that will bring a lot of organic matter, grow very fast, be adding extra food production or medicinal product. Within this whole list, then we will differentiate what are those that will go to export if your production is dedicated to exportation, and which one of those will actually fuel the local markets within the three previous categories that we just mentioned, at least the two previous ones, food and medicine. Within this planning, we'll then look at the spatial laying of those new trees that we will try to install inside your existing system. Later, once we have all the nursery ready, the seeds ready, we have made our choices, what plants, what categories we're going to include in your system, we take the next step. we make sure we have the whole place prepared, and we install it. And the very last step in terms of this agronomic change is adjust the existing practices, agronomic practices, for your culture, for your crop. And here we want to make sure that the coffee techniques that are used are the best known, so we make sure we optimize the maximum your coffee productivity. The second tool that we will use is making sure that the prices that those producers will receive are actually pairing the level of care that is given to this system. We are talking here about producers that indeed are capable to manage an ecosystem, which has nothing to see with a monoculture, which is, as its name implies, a very simplified system that is just targeting high volumes of productivity with the lowest cost, of course. So what is this? What is the value of all that? Well, transparency. It's who, how, and where. We have already mapped producers that have somehow inherited some of those practices, but also eager to continue and then complexify their systems. It's all very precisely mapped. And with these producers, we also work with a charter of engagement that looks at the main steps that one producer needs to fulfill in order to be labeled steward of his ecosystem. Repeat, stewarding is ecosystem, nothing to see with monoculture. This type of charter is using the main principles of dynamic agroforestry systems, but also adding up a whole set of ecosystem services indicators. This charter of engagement for ecosystem stewarding touch base on the number of tree varieties that you have, touch base on the proportions of the production that goes to export and the proportions of your production that goes to feed local market. This indicator is important because it looks at food security locally. The proportions of trees that are indeed providing food, providing medicinal compounds, pollinating services, and also organic matter to return to your system, and how much your system is actually sequestering the carbon. And finally, the number of jobs that this type of agronomical management implies. Such a system is focusing on the human management. Nothing about just the robots that are going to do the whole work for us and us doing nothing standing in our houses. We have all over the world a whole lot of people that are useful and are eager to contribute to take care of our environment, our ecosystem, that one who actually feed us. And finally, we are, by doing what we're doing, we are opening up new markets, which means by you having the broad idea of what is a regenerative coffee, well, you will be able to demand that the coffees or anything else that you have in your kitchen that respects these principles and the principles that are inspired by the way the forest functions. In other words, agronomically speaking, dynamic agroforestry principles. So you can value and you can say that yes, you are eager to pay a higher price, knowing that the product that you have will indeed make sure that we are regenerating, restoring an ecosystem instead of just extracting and destroying it. And all that is a set of skills that we have among our team here at FSS System, team of restorative agronomists. And we are really happy to embark in this adventure, in this challenge for having agriculture taking its next step.